right, these are the notes for cell parts. First of all, let me note that you need to use your notes to find answers to things. One, some of the diagrams and websites you'll find are from another country and they call things something different. I'm only going to count right what is in the notes or is in the textbook. Also, there is some disagreement on some of the parts of cells among scientists. So again, I am going to only use what's true in the notes or the textbook. So you need to look up answers in your textbook or in the notes and don't Google the answers. If it's wrong because you Googled it, I don't know what to tell you. All right, so we're going to start on cell wall. And I'm going to put a mark whether it's plant or animal. Cell wall is only in a plant. It's the hard covering outside the cell membrane in a plant cell. It provides support for the plant, which does not have a skeleton, so it needs to stand up and grow. Your skin is made of animal cells, so you can squish it because there's no cell walls. A plant, you can't do that. A cell wall is in a plant, and it's the hard outer covering. We'll do a couple of these, and we'll look at a diagram. The chloroplast is only in a plant cell. It's usually colored green, looks like a small watermelon. Inside looks like a stack of coins. Turns sunlight into energy. It's the site of photosynthesis, which is turning water and carbon dioxide, CO2, into glucose or sugar. Okay, we're going to show you this since that's only in a plant cell. So this is the cell wall, this hard outer covering. Right inside it is a cell membrane, which we'll talk about in a minute. And right here is a chloroplast. Now this one has been cut in half and opened. It literally looks like a stack of coins on the inside. There's another one right here. The reason I say it looks like a stack of coins is because this part and this part are something else. And notice there's something different. The chloroplast tends to be an oval shape. This isn't. And we'll talk about this later. The next one is the Golgi apparatus. Some books will call it the Golgi body. The Golgi is in both. Flattened membranes not wrapped around the ER. The ER is the endoplasmic reticulum, which we'll talk about in a minute. It looks like a stack of pancakes. Packages proteins for specific jobs and then transports them in tiny membranes called vesicles. And we'll talk about vesicles in a minute. So your Golgi body is right here. See how it looks like a pancake, a pancake, a pancake, a pancake. And notice that it's the nucleus is right here and it's not touching the nucleus. No part of it is touching the nucleus. I suppose it could be touching, but the difference is sometimes this part, which we'll talk about later, and this part are confused. This part's wrapped around the nucleus and this part isn't. That's in a plant cell. In an animal cell, I don't even see a Golgi on this particular one. I have to draw one on. It would look something like this. I've even seen them look just like this, depending on who the artist is. Okay, after the Golgi apparatus, we have a vesicle. Vesicles could be in either tiny membrane-bound packages made by the Golgi apparatus near the Golgi. These moving packages made by the Golgi around the cell. Some vesicles in an animal cell are called lysosomes. Now, here's the vesicle, or here's the Golgi. So these little packages that are leaving would be vesicles. This is a lysosome. I know that's not what it calls it. This diagram is from another country. And we'll talk about lysosomes later, but it has floated away from the Golgi. This one doesn't have, so you would have like little, and they wouldn't be dots, they would be packages. Okay, lysosome. Now, here is one of the things that scientists disagree on. Everybody agrees that they're in the animal cell. The plant cell is a disagreement. Your book is a little ambiguous about this. It talks about the lysosomes, but it doesn't really say that it is or isn't in the plant cell. So we're going to say the lysosomes are in both. And you can find websites that'll say they are, but that's what we're going to say. The lysosome is a vesicle made by the Golgi apparatus, and they're near the Golgi, contain substances that break down waste and eventually break down the dead cell. So the lysosome is a part that has enzymes in it, and when those enzymes are used, they will get flushed out. They'll flush out waste products. And at some point when the cell dies, the lysosome will burst open and the enzymes inside will break down the entire cell so that your body can flush it out. All right, central vacuole. They're in both. It says it's a very large blob in a plant cell, very small blobs in an animal cell, stores food, water, and waste material. So the central vacuole, you will see you can barely see it on this, but there's like a little, or a big, actually. It takes up a good chunk of the space inside the plant cell. But in the animal cell, here's one, it's very small. The reason it's a lot smaller in the animal cell is you're able to store food in fat cells, and plants are not able to do that, so they need more storage space. The next one is cytoplasm, in both. Clear jelly-like liquid filling empty spaces within the cell. Viscous, which means thick. For example, vegetable oil is more viscous than water. Viscous or thick fluid inflates the cell and keeps organelles from laying in a pile at the bottom. It's actually something that the organelles float in. So in the diagram, what you're going to find is, like this says cytoplasm. See how it looks like it's pointing at nothing? That's because everywhere where there's nothing is cytoplasm. Same thing, well, of course, I put a Golgi right there, but anyway, if it's pointing to nothing, like right there, it's going to be the cytoplasm because nothing else is there. The nucleus, both plants and animals have nuclei. Nuclei is the plural word for nucleus. In other words, it's one nucleus or three nuclei. An obvious ball in the cell. The endoplasmic reticulum will be wrapped around it, and it directs cells' activities and contains genetic material. So here, notice how it's not necessarily in the center. In the ER, these folds right here, which we'll talk about in a minute, are wrapped around it. And in the animal cell, here it is right here, and there's those ER that we're going to talk about in a minute, kind of wrapped around it. Chromatin. Chromatin is in both. Chromatin are wads of chromosomes inside the nucleus. Genetic materials in the nucleus that condenses into chromosomes. So later when we talk about cell reproduction, we're going to look at the chromosome, see how it's pointing to these things inside the nucleus, this genetic material. But that's chromatin. Okay, let's get to the second page. I'm going to do this in 2 videos. So, okay, the first one is a nucleolus. The nucleolus is in both. The ball inside the nucleus makes ribosomes. So inside the nucleus, there's another little ball called the nucleolus. Inside this nucleus, there's another ball called the nucleolus. And it makes ribosomes, which we'll get to in a minute. We'll do a couple more and go on to the next video. The nuclear membrane. Nuclear membrane is in both. Skin-like membrane around the nucleus and allows certain things into and out of the nucleus. So the nucleus has a skin around it called the nuclear membrane. We'll be back.